Welcome to episode 3 of the Rants of a Red Devil podcast. As we've done in the last couple of episodes, with no football on, we'll have a look at some news coming out of the club, and then we'll also we'll have a look at some of the transfer rumours that have been circling this week. So the first big bit of news coming out of United this week is the kit leaks. If you haven't seen the leaks for next season's kit, what I suggest you do is you pause this, whether you're watching it, whether you're listening to it, you pause this, you go to Google and you search for the Manchester United kit leaks and you have a look at them. There's 3, as there normally is. The home, the away, and the third kit that United do every year. And they've got some mixed reactions on social media. So the home one, to try and describe it for those that haven't yet seen it, it's obviously the traditional red with what I can only describe as like 80s Mario, where everything was boxy. It looks like 80s Mario rain running down a window, but it's yellow and black. That's the only way that I can think to describe it. It's not got a lot of positive reception on social media. I don't mind it, if I'm honest. It's not one of the nicer home shirts that United have done in recent years, but I don't mind it. It's the last few kits that United have done home shirts have been quite clean looking, quite plain. This one's got a little bit more to it, so it depends on your preference. The away one is the one that seems to be getting the most positive reviews online from fans. The away one is pretty much what you'd expect from a United away kit. It's sort of single coloured, different colour trim, but the main body of the shirt is a single colour and it just looks very clean. The only thing that I don't like about it is the colours. It's like a greeny grey with like an orangey old gold trim. Now in the past, the United away shirts have always been black or blue or white. This one seems like a complete... I don't know where the colours have come from. I don't know where the inspiration for those colours have come from. But they're there. And I don't necessarily not like it. I just don't... I'm not a fan of the colour. I'm not a fan of the colours. And then finally, we get to the third kit, which is the one that's received the most criticism, to be honest, on social media. And if you have a look at it, you can probably understand why. It's very out there. It's probably something I'd wear because I quite like the out there football kits. My formative years in football were the sort of mid-90s when kits were a bit garish and they were a bit different and a bit out there. But it's not what you'd term a modern football shirt. And the only thing that I can think, it's like a crazy zebra pattern, and the only thing that I can think is it's been designed to give the opposition a seizure. Because that's what it's like. The more I look at it, the more it hurts my eyes. Not because I dislike it, but because it physically hurts my eyes. It's an interesting kit. I'll be honest, it is an interesting kit. So that's the big news that's sort of come out this week about United. There's been other little snippets as well, some quite comical, some I wouldn't read too much into. Obviously, the next biggest news is Ed Woodward's comments. He has said this week that it will be a tough time for clubs after the coronavirus pandemic. He said on this, but he cannot help feeling speculation around transfers of injured players for hundreds of millions of pounds this summer seem to ignore the realities that face the sport As ever, our priority is the success of the team, but we need visibility of the impact across the whole industry, including timings of the transfer window and the wider financial picture before we could talk about a return to normality. We have always believed that our commercial model gives us greater resilience than most clubs, and we are grateful for the enduring support of our commercial partners. I think what he's trying to say there is, I think on the one hand, he's trying to tell fans that we're not going to be as badly hit as other clubs based on our commercial model. But I think it's also a warning, it's more of a warning to other clubs that it's going to be pointless hiking your prices because the money's not there. Whether it is or not, he doesn't want other clubs to know that there's money there. And I think it is a tactic merely to deflect that fact, to deflect the fact that there is money there. So that's a comment I wouldn't read too much into. Some comical news coming out of United this week were injuries. Obviously, the players are training at home and they're keeping in touch, obviously, with all the fitness instructors and the coaches at the club. And I can't remember who it was. One of the physios or one of the coaches was asked. It might have been. I can't remember. No, I can't remember who it was. I thought it might have been McKenna, but I don't think it was. Was asked about any players reporting injuries. Now the good news is there's no serious injuries. Players are getting fit. Marcus said in his podcast that was released on Monday with Man United, he was aiming to be fit for the middle of April. So that's sort of allowing him to get to where he wants to be this break. So it's good news on Marcus, on the front of Marcus, getting Rashford back in the side and fit for when football does return. But some of the injuries that were coming out, no specific players were named, but there has been reports of burns to players while they were trying to cook, and some dog bites. So there's nothing serious, but pretty comical that players in their 20s are burning themselves cooking. You can only imagine because they've never had to do it themselves before. So that's quite amusing. And then on football as a whole, there's a few reports coming out, not just specific to United, but just in football, just regarding football in general, that the World Health Organization, who is obviously at the forefront of dealing with this coronavirus pandemic, they want football banned until the end of the 2021 season. So they effectively want next season not to go ahead. I think that drive people absolutely crazy. I can imagine, because I have myself, I can imagine how much people are missing football just in the 40 odd days that we haven't had any of it. So that'd be hard to take if that was the case. But if it's for the good of the safety of the wider population, then I guess obviously it needs to be done. In terms of this season, UEFA have said that they will decide leagues and qualification for UEFA competitions will be decided on a points per game basis. So the points per game basis is obviously an average of how many points you've taken from the games that you've played. Currently, that leaves the top four as they are, with Chelsea just pipping United to that fourth spot. United beating Sheffield United into that fifth spot. So depending on what happens with City, we could get Champions League on that basis with the top five. If their fifth place spot gets that final Champions League place. So that is how they want the league to be decided. I guess obviously if they do want to have leagues decided, that's got to be the fairest way to do it. But that is pretty much all the football news that we've had coming out this week. So now let's have a little look at some of the transfer speculation from this week. Probably some that we've touched on, some that we haven't. At the back end of this week, we'll go for the big one. Back end of this week, Ronaldo. He's been linked with a return to Manchester United. A European sporting director has said he wouldn't be surprised if it happened, because Juventus cannot afford his £510,000 a week wages following this pandemic. Obviously, he's a bit of a hero at the club, but he's 35 years old and still commanding £510,000 a week. Can we really afford to pay that? Does he really fit the ethos, the way that we're trying to build a team based around young players? Who knows? But yeah, I think it's one of those that it's not going to happen, but you never know. I can't see him in a United shirt next season. I honestly can't see him in a United shirt next season. But one player that apparently will be is Grealish. So we said on last week's podcast that the deal for Grealish was dead in the water. It was off. United weren't interested. Well, apparently the reports this week is they are, and he's firmly on their radar. So again, who knows what to make of that one. I've seen João Felix linked. Again, based on the value of players dropping after this pandemic, João Felix could be available. The young lad that went to Atletico Madrid for an astronomical fee for a teenager. There's talk that he could be available at a reasonable price. He fits that young ethos that United are trying to go with. Again, don't really see João Felix happening. The reports coming out this week regarding Jude Bellingham. I think we said last week that it had all sort of gone quiet on the Bellingham front. Apparently, he could opt for United. He could opt for United over Dortmund. So that's some sort of positive news if we can get hold of that lad and then loan him out. I guess it all depends what path he wants to take, whether that be playing at Dortmund in a Dortmund first team or coming to United and probably being loaned back out a couple of times. So it all depends what sort of path that he wants to take. Reports in some of the papers and across social media that United dream of a front three consisting of Anthony Martial, Marcus Rashford and Jadon Sancho. I think every fan dreams of that as well, to be honest. The talk around Jadon Sancho isn't going to go away. Borussia Dortmund want to make him one of the highest paid players in Europe to stay there. But the reports around Jadon Sancho say that he wants to come back to England, with Manchester is probably his most likely destination. I think that's backed up by the fact that Chelsea are now looking at Philippe Coutinho, obviously already bought in Hakim Ziyech. So I think they firmly believe that they are out of the Jadon Sancho race. So I think that leaves the door open for United. Hopefully we can get something done for as soon as the window opens, so it's not like the Bruno Fernandes one that just dragged on forever. I hope we just get it done, and then obviously you can settle in over whatever pre-season there may be. In terms of exits, obviously we can't discuss transfers without discussing Paul Pogba. They sort of go hand in hand at the moment. The reports are that United are not going to trigger his contract extension and are adamant that they will get rid of him in the summer. Again, I don't know how much of that is to be believed, because reports are also saying that he's due to sign a new contract. So again, take both of those with a pinch of salt. When it comes to Paul Pogba, anything could happen. Obviously, with Mino Raiola by his side, literally anything could happen. He could sign and then go the next day. Like, we don't know with Paul Pogba. I think when the transfer window shuts, that's when you'll know where he's going to be, because he's that unpredictable with him. Inter are not going to make Alexis Sanchez's deal permanent, so it looks like he's coming back to us. So we've got a choice to make. Do we try and integrate him into the team, or do we just try and loan him out again? Or I guess the third option, probably not going to happen, probably a less likely option, is we just pay off his contract and we just pay off his contract and let him go on a free somewhere. I mean, he commands astronomical wages. what is it? It depends which report you believe. Some are saying 350 grand a week. Some are saying 500 grand a week. So he commands astronomical wages, and he's never really performed at United. For me, in terms of expectation and what I thought we were going to get with Alexis Sanchez coming through the door, and so in terms of expectation and actual end product, what we actually got from Alexis Sanchez when he came through the door, for me, he's United's worst signing. He's their worst signing. We can look at people like William Prunier or Bebe or Jamba Brooklyn, but we weren't expecting those players to set the world on fire. When we signed Alexis Sanchez, we were expecting big things from Alexis Sanchez, and he just has never delivered. I mean, at least Pogba's delivered a few times. Alexis Sanchez has never delivered. So for me, he's got to be the worst signing in terms of expectation versus reality. And just keeping him around, I don't think it's good for anybody. I don't think it's good for him, and I don't think it's good for United. They're obviously building in a different direction. They're building in a very youthful manner, and he doesn't fit that bill. He's 30, 31 now. I don't think he fits that youthful bill. So I think if we could move him on, that would be the best thing. If that means loaning him out again, then ultimately that's probably the best thing that we can do. And the final transfer rumour that we have floating around is regarding Diogo Dalot. Apparently PSG are interested, and United could be willing to do business for 30 or 40 million euros. This is one of those that's a bit strange for me. I quite like Dalot. I don't think he's ever going to challenge Aaron Wan-Bissaka for that right back spot. But he's better going forward, so maybe we could try him on the wing. Obviously, a bit of cover for Jadon Sancho if Sancho comes in. Just play him out on the wing rather than as a defence-minded player. Because he's still young, he's still got a lot of developing to do, and he's still got a lot of promise. So I quite like him as a player. But I don't think he's going to get that opportunity in that right back spot, and I think that's ultimately what he wants. And then but when you're talking about those sums of money, 30 or 40 million euros for a player that's barely featured for United, as much as we like him, I don't think we could turn that money down if PSG did come knocking for him. So it looks like Diogo Dalot, if rumours are to be believed, he's on his way out of Old Trafford, which, like I say, is a shame, but when we talk about those sums of money, it's got to be expected. And that's pretty much all of the news that we've got coming out of United this week. We'll be back next week with some more news coming out of the club, some transfer rumours. We'll see what else happens in the world of football over the next 7 days. But thanks again for listening. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for all of the positive feedback we've got from the podcast. Hopefully we've got some exciting things coming up for you in the future. Until then, if you want to check out more United-related content, you can visit www.rantsofareddevil.com. We've got plenty of articles and various other bits on there. You can also check us out on Twitter @RantDevil. Obviously, we try to get the United news out there as soon as we get it. And until next week, thanks for listening.